And so another thing that I've noticed is removing a lot of discipline. So in order to make things equitable, because everything has become racial and equity oriented, I've noticed, and once again, these were probably done with good intentions, but to make things equitable discipline wise, basically what's happened is a lot of discipline has just been removed. That's also going to hurt the kids. You're not helping a kid who has discipline issues to just stop disciplining them. And so what you see is a lot of parents going like, I don't feel safe sending my kid to the school because there's a lot of issues with even really young children now assaulting. They'll call, I have friends who are teachers and they'll say, we had a clear the room situation. And I'm like, what is a clear the room situation? Well, it's when a child loses it, basically. And what they do is they clear everybody else out of the room and let the child do what they're going to do. And that is, in my opinion, the opposite way of how to deal with the situation. And our district is the only district that removed SROs, which is school resource officers, because once again, they had this ideological bias against police officers. And so in 2020, they received a lot of pressure from activist groups to remove police, and they did. And that has not been a good thing either. So, we have a lot of people who are like, we had 2 gun incidents at Capitol within the first week of school. This year alone in September. And we still to this day have no SROs back. And it is because we have a board that is so set on this narrative, this anti-police narrative, and that they're, traumatizing for students and other individuals.
By chance, and I don't know if but over the last 3 to 5 years, well, and I know a couple of those years were COVID, so probably let's say 5 years. Are you familiar at all with any kind of police involvement on the campuses prior to this year, really? Do you know if there were specific incidences or the number of specific incidences that may have been responded to by police that were beneficial to the population?
Yeah, I mean, the police are responding. There's been a lot of incidents at the schools. The problem is because there's it is an actual lack of cooperation with our district.
So are the school administrators not cooperating with police when
Some do, but it's up to that particular school. So
Okay.
and I have people reach out to me all the time. So I have staff and even administrators that will reach out to me and say, I do not feel like I can call law enforcement. There are particular schools who I know are not involving law enforcement because I have friends in law enforcement who are saying, we know this happened and we know we're not being called and it's intentional. So we have serious issues around the law enforcement issue.
And so during this year, besides the 2 gun incidences, do you know if there has been increased drug use, any kind of fentanyl overdoses, anything else on the school campuses?
I do believe that there's increased drug use. I know that they have had, for example, at one of our high schools, they had to shut the bathrooms because of things going on in the bathrooms with drug use and other, activity like that. So it's gotten to be a problem.
I would imagine that there are probably a lot of kids that don't necessarily feel safe going to school.
Right. And so you have people literally taking their kids out of school. I don't know how many removed their kids in September, but I know of at least 3 within that first week that said, we're out of here. We're going to go either to Tumwater, we're going to go into private school, we're going to go somewhere that takes safety seriously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just wild to me. I will be speaking actually in Black Hills High School to the freshman group because there's been an increased, I believe, some fentanyl use and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's really terrifying for me because it feels like those kind of things are being normalized, the assaults and the increased crime and drug use on campuses and the accommodating students and what it is that they want. I know with my own high school child, so she was in school last year and some of the teachers reached out to me and she wasn't showing up for class. So of course I'm like, well, administer a consequence incentivize her. Do you have detention? Put her in detention. And they didn't want to upset her. What they wanted was to discuss what kind of options would be more beneficial for her. And I find it to be really problematic because it's telling kids that it doesn't matter what you do. We're going to try to make you comfortable no matter what.
Right, right. And that's kind of what this whole shift and this pendulum going over has also done. And we see that as a parallel with the city and, the cooperation with law enforcement and what law enforcement can do. It's very paralleled with what's going on in school.